All right, let's talk about the Bill of Rights. And no, this isn't going to be some dry history lesson. I want you to think of it less like an old, dusty document and more like a real, living shield that protects you, right now, every single day. So what are these rights, really, and how do they actually work? Let's dive in and figure it out.
I mean, how many times have you heard someone say, "I know my rights"? It's a phrase we throw around all the time, but if we're being honest, do we really know what they are? What do they actually say, and what are they supposed to protect us from? That's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
So, to do this, we're going to be using this fantastic guide. We'll stick pretty close to the main text of the amendments themselves, but we'll also pull in some really helpful clarifying notes put together by J.R. Vacera. It's a great way to see what the words originally meant and what they mean for us today.
Okay, first up, we've got to start with the big one, right? The First Amendment. This thing is an absolute cornerstone of American life. It's the foundation for so many freedoms that, let's be real, we probably take for granted. It's all about how you can express yourself and connect with the world.
So when we talk about religious freedom in the First Amendment, it's not just one idea. It's actually a two-part promise, and our guide here breaks it down really well. The first part is all about setting limits on what the government is allowed to do.
This is what's known as the Establishment Clause, and it's pretty simple when you boil it down. The government can't create an official national religion. It can't play favorites. You might have heard of Thomas Jefferson's famous phrase about a wall of separation between church and state. That's the idea here, keeping government and religion in their own separate lanes.
And the second part of that promise, that's the Free Exercise Clause. This is huge. It means you have the right to believe, or not believe, in whatever you want, and the government can't punish you for it. Your beliefs are your own, period. But, and this is a really important but that our guide points out, there's a line between belief and action. Your beliefs are protected, absolutely, but if your actions break the law, well, that's a different story.
Of course, the First Amendment also protects free speech, but it's not a total free-for-all. And this quote is the classic example of why. You can't just yell "fire" in a crowded theater. Why? Because your right to say what you want ends when it starts to create a real danger for other people. It's a constant balancing act.
And you know, these rights weren't just carved in stone and left alone. They have been tested and retested in court over and over again for centuries. I mean, look at this timeline. We're talking about a case way back in 1735 that protected a newspaper, all the way up to 1989 when the Supreme Court said that even something as controversial as burning a flag is a form of protected speech. It just goes to show you, our understanding of these freedoms is always evolving.
So let's put it all together. You absolutely have the right to assemble, to hold marches, to protest, to rally. That's protected. But, and you see the pattern here, there are limits. That right doesn't extend to rioting or illegally closing off streets and buildings or trying to start violence. The key word, every single time, is peaceful.
Okay, so the First Amendment covers a lot of our public expression, right? Our beliefs, our speech. But what about our rights a little closer to home? The next group of amendments we're going to look at really acts like a shield for you as a citizen, protecting you, your home, and your stuff from the government going too far.
And that brings us to the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms. Now, this is without a doubt one of the most hotly debated rights we have. The guide we're using points to its historical context with state militias, but it also makes sure to highlight that huge Supreme Court decision back in 2008. That's the one that confirmed an individual's right to own a gun for self-defense, specifically at home.
All right, Amendment number 3. This one might sound a little strange to us today. It says the government can't just force you to let soldiers live in your house. But you have to remember, for the people writing this was a huge deal. It was a direct slap in the face to a British practice they hated. At its core, it's all about protecting your home as your private space.
And speaking of privacy in your home, that leads us perfectly into the Fourth Amendment. This is your Get a Warrant Amendment. It protects you from unreasonable searches and seizures. The government can't just go through your stuff on a whim. As the guide lays out, they usually need a warrant from a judge, and to get one, they have to show probable cause, basically a legitimate reason to think a crime is connected to you or your property.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. What happens if you're actually accused of a crime? Well, the founders thought about that too. The next few amendments are basically the rule book for our justice system. They're designed to make sure that everyone gets treated fairly and that your rights are protected from the moment you're accused.
The Fifth Amendment is a real powerhouse. There's a lot packed in here. It says that for serious crimes, you have a right to a grand jury. It protects you from something called double jeopardy, which we'll get to in a sec. And then there's the big one you see in movies all the time, the right against self-incrimination. You don't have to testify against yourself. You can plead the Fifth. It's all part of a bigger idea called due process of law.
So that double jeopardy thing, it's really important, so let's make sure we're clear on it. It means that if you go on trial for a crime and a jury finds you not guilty, that's it. It's over. The government doesn't get a do-over. They can't just keep trying you again and again for the same exact crime, hoping for a different result. It's a huge protection.
And if your case does go to trial, the Sixth Amendment kicks in with a whole new set of protections. Your trial has to be speedy and public, none of this secret court stuff. You have the right to an impartial jury, to hear from the witnesses against you, and, this is a big one, you have the right to a lawyer to defend you.
Okay, let's talk about Amendment number 8. This one is all about fairness when it comes to punishment. It does two main things. It protects you from excessive bail being set, and it bans cruel and unusual punishments. And that last phrase, cruel and unusual, as our guide notes, that's the phrase at the absolute heart of today's debate over the death penalty.
So we've gone through a lot of very specific rights, right? But what about, everything else? The founders were smart enough to know they couldn't list every single freedom a person has. So the last two amendments in the Bill of Rights are kind of like these brilliant safety nets. They help define the balance of power and basically answer the question, what did we miss?
And that brings us to the Ninth Amendment. It's super short but incredibly powerful. All it says is that just because we didn't list a right here in the Constitution, it doesn't mean that right doesn't exist. This is the one people point to for things like the right to privacy. It's the Constitution's way of saying, hey, your freedoms are way bigger than this single piece of paper.
And last but not least, we have the 10th Amendment. This one is all about who gets the power. The rule is simple. If the Constitution doesn't specifically give a power to the federal government, then that power belongs to the states, or to the people themselves. It's a huge check on the power of the central government, and it's really the foundation of our whole system of federalism.
So when you put it all together, you see the Bill of Rights isn't just a list of thou shalt nots. It's really a framework for a conversation, an ongoing debate really between our personal freedoms and the need for public order. It's a balancing act. And it leaves us with the exact same question that every generation has had to face. Where exactly do we draw that line today?